And, you know, it's kind of crazy because when you think about it, and I don't know if you've had the same experience, but like, I've never once been asked for my GPA by anyone.
Me neither.
And in a job interview, I've never gone to a job.
Hey, Ju.
How's it going?
Good. Welcome back to episode 4 of the It's Just a Draft podcast.
Ooh, I love
Doesn't
it.
that sound official when we say it that way?
It sounds too official, honestly.
Yeah, it's
No,
too
I'm kidding.
formal.
Too formal. It's not like us at all.
Yeah, but we had a good last episode. I really liked the topic of happiness that we touched on and like, you know, talking about 1% better every day, the highs and lows. And
It's an important one.
It's an important one. So today I thought we'd do kind of related to that, talking about patience and delaying gratification. I think those two kind of go hand in hand. So I'm interested to like dive more into personal experiences with that. And, you know, yeah, just so maybe we can share more about ourselves with the viewers as well.
I mean, for those of you who are watching, I'm like giving Jake a side eye because I'm like, patience. You don't know me, do you? Eh? I'm like zero patience.
We have zero patience, and you guys will know through our experiences.
Yes, exactly. But actually, I'm pretty proud of myself because there is a situation that, and I don't know if it's relevant, but hey, we're talking about, you know, sharing more about ourselves. So there is a situation where I'm pretty proud of myself for being quite patient on this.
Yeah? Talk to me.
So I can share this one with everyone. So I'm in a relationship with my boyfriend. And can you believe I waited for this guy? Not for like a month or 2 or 3. Waited like years.
We're talking years,
like,
ladies and
we're
gentlemen.
talking like, I think, so we first met in January 2017. So do the math with me. January 2017, we meet at school, in university. And then he decides to give me a chance. We'll put it that way.
Oh boy.
In like, and I get confused with the years, in like November of 2020.
There was like gaps, like it was kind of weird, right?
There was gaps, but I was like really after him this whole time. So let's say January.
Indeed, I know.
So January 2020, no, what am I saying? 2017, 2018, 2019. So we're talking like almost
3-4 years.
4-ish years.
Yeah.
And then it took him another like 10 months before he was like, "Okay, yeah, I'm good with being official with you're my girlfriend." So,
yeah, it was a long time. And honestly, I just like categorized it as like 8-10 years in my mind. It just felt like it felt like ages.
Like, oh, you're telling me.
Yeah.
So for those of you who, well, obviously you don't know, Jake was through it all with me by my side.
I've seen the highs and lows.
The highs and lows. Yes, everybody. Lows. And Jake was just phenomenal throughout this whole process because I would just keep, you know, talking about the situation and like, what does he not see in me? Like, what is this? And I just kept going. And I think that's a really good example of being patient. Like, for me, that's a really good example of being patient because I think in today's day and age too, when you've always got that shiny new object, you know, you even think of like relationships, like they don't last as long as they used to, or like people move on very quickly, or we see like even the rate of like divorce and things like that. Like,
oh man,
it's so much higher. So I think that has to do with, you know, patience in a certain sense as well, or moving on to something new. So anyways, I don't want to,
I mean, that's a lot of, that's 100% patience, but I feel like on that topic, it's a lot of like what you see externally, right? Like nowadays it's hard to be patient when you see everyone like living their lives, living their best lives.
That's
like
right.
that social media topic that we, you know, kind of touched on a bit. Like I feel like that plays a lot into the patience that you have to just go through your own journey.
100%.
And on that, like what this reminds me of your story about, you know, all the time that like I would try to help you or like you would share stuff to me and like, you know, I try to give you advice, is I'm learning how to be patient, like with myself, but also with other people. Like when you give advice to someone, right? Like you have to realize that they need to go through their own journey.
So can I just do a side note on this and say that I never took Jacob's advice? Or maybe I took it like once. But like in this situation, the guy would literally sit there and talk to me for hours and hours and give me all these rational thoughts that made so much sense. And I'm like, thanks, Jake, that's cool. But like, I'm not going to
I'm good.
Exactly.
I'm good. See you next week. Same time next week.
Exactly. Same time, same topic, you know? And I think that's part of it too, right? It's like we say, it's about kind of, you can listen to what someone says and you can hear someone who's got rational thoughts, but when you're in the situation yourself and it's an emotional situation particularly, or you're an emotional person, or you have emotions, you have a certain attachment.
You're a human.
You're human.
AKA.
Exactly. It's hard. It's hard to sometimes take advice or to listen to things that you're like, oh yeah, but if I do that, like that, you know what I mean? Like you contemplate it.
That's the thing, right? About taking advice is like, I'm trying to give you advice from my perspective.
Yes.
I'm a neutral third party, right? Like I'll tell you what I see and what I think you should be doing, right? But at the end of the day, at least for me, when I like to, you know, have these chats with people, I really love listening to people and like learning more about them and like hopefully maybe sharing advice. But for me, I know that I enter that solution mode too early.
Yeah.
Like that's how I like to offer help. And I know some people just need me to listen, which I try to do. I need to get better at that. But I'm very eager and like not really patient on the, you know, oh, I want to help you so bad. Like I want to go into that solution mode. But I've came to realize through my own journey of like my own experiences, right? I'm like, oh wait, like someone could have told me not to do that. But until I actually did it, now I know.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same thing when I was talking to you, right? Like you need to reach a point where it's like, okay, now I will start listening, or now I get it.
Or now I'm ready.
Now I'm ready, right? So it's also like patience. And so what this comes to is like being patient with yourself. Like that's super important. Like I don't think, at least for myself, I don't think I give myself the time to just live life.
Yeah.
To just experience.
And to learn too. Like if I compare this to something even at work, you know, you learn something new. It's only normal. It's going to take you time at first and you're not going to understand. You're going to have questions. And like, I'll put like a pressure on myself. Like I need to know how to do this like perfectly, or like, oh my, what are people going to think of me? I'm asking all these questions, whatever. But it's like, to your point, you have to be patient with yourself and understand there's a process where you have to process, you have to assimilate all this information, and, you know, eventually it will come to you and you'll get better, but it will take time. It
will take time. And like, on that, what you're talking about, work, like ties into every aspect of our life. Like if I look at, let's say in my job of coding, right? Like someone could be in front of me showing me how to code, showing me what to do. And until I actually do it myself, that's when things will stick.
100%.
That's when I'll actually learn something. 100%. Like, sure, you can learn some basic stuff, right? Like me, who's trying to give you advice, or like you try to give advice to other people. You might pick up on some things, you might learn some things, but like to apply it, to actually embody that advice, like you need to figure it out by yourself.
Absolutely.
You know, because I could tell you go left, but actually you go left and you should have went right.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I'm not in your shoes. I'm trying to help you as best as I can, but it's like, you know, you need to be patient with like, okay, I'm actually going to go through the mud for a bit. And that's what it's like, being comfortable in the uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That for me I struggle with that a lot. Like, which
it's tough.
Ties into patience, right? It's like, oh no, I want things to go right now. Like, I don't want to go through this weird phase of my life. I don't want to go and like maybe have this lonely phase in my life. I want to be with the people I see myself being with right now.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, but wait, what are you doing right now to be with those people, or like be in this environment? You know, like it's that patience to go through that journey. And like for me, is changing the focus about results, like not being results driven. I know it's hard.
It's hard.
You know,
that's how our world revolves around results, right?
Yeah, it's like, okay, why are you doing something? To probably achieve a certain objective, right?
Just because, that's why we're doing something.
Yeah, but see, that's a huge one. That's like ties into patience. It's like, why are you doing something? You'll be able to be patient in the process. It's like, this is what feels good to me right now.
Yep.
Like, who knows what the outcome will be? Like, because I found for myself, if I'm too result driven, I won't even try things. I won't even start something, because literally it's to the point where I'm like, oh, I would like to start this business idea. Then I'm like, oh, but this niche is oversaturated. Like, or this niche is, I don't know, it's not even $1 billion niche or something like that. You know what I mean? So it's to that point where
like pessimistic about it.
It's just like, you don't even start things. So it's like, not everything has a money outcome or like a, I don't know, a very external driven outcome, but it's just like, you can't be patient if that's the way you think.
100%.
And life is meant to be lived in the process, right? That's where you live.
That's literally a perfect segue to what I was thinking this whole time you're talking. And I'm like, we just need to learn to trust the process. And I think that's something you and I discuss off cam a lot, is about trusting the process. And we're kind of talking about it where we're saying going through the motions and living in that uncomfortableness, and just believing that, okay, like if I keep working at it and getting 1% better every single day, things are going to work out, right? And obviously you have to put the effort. You can't just sit there and say, okay, I'm going to trust the process that, you know, I'm going to become a master at this or whatever. Obviously, you need to put in the work. Or the
But
effort,
it's hard, right? Because sometimes it's like not even about putting the work. It's like, what work do I put in? It's there.
Ooh, I like that.
We're so, but it's like we're so stimulated with information during the day, right? There's information coming at you left and right. Like your brain is constantly on high alert for a bunch of information, and you have to process all that information. So like when you go just open your phone, like you're bombarded with a ton of information, ton of people doing different things. So the point of like, oh wait, he's doing that, she's doing that, should I do that or that? Or like
it's confusing.
It's confusing. And at that point, it's like you're not even listening to yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Being patient that like things, you'll figure things out, but by trying things.
Exactly.
You know, and there's, again, to come back to the Alex Hermosi, he has a great quote on this because
I want to hear it.
I right now, I feel like I'm in a period of my life where I categorize that as the lonely phase.
Okay.
You know, there's some life changes that have happened in the past, and I'm at a point where I think I'm just discovering more about myself.
And just to make sure I'm clear on this, the lonely phase, is it what I think it is? Like you feel like you're alone? Like, is it self-explanatory or is there more to it?
There's more. Okay. I think because it's like you could be alone. Mm-hmm. It's like being alone, but feeling lonely is two different things.
Okay.
You know, like alone is like physically alone by yourself. Yeah. Like, but
I'm
feeling
alone in a room.
Yeah, but it's like not necessarily feeling lonely. You know, so
okay, I see what you mean.
So what he says, and like he had the same experience, and he's like, everyone that I know that has achieved their goals or their level of happiness that they were seeking out to achieve, they've been through this phase, which is called the lonely phase. Okay. So you've outgrown your current environment or the current people you used to be around, but you're not where you want to be yet to be with your new people or in your new environment. And that's what I feel is going on for me right now. So like I said, this is like it's an uncomfortable transition in your life. Like it's weird, right? Like I spend 99% of my day alone, like every single day. I eat alone. I wake up alone. I go on walks alone. I'm in my apartment most of the time working, like work from home. Sometimes go to the office, but most of my time I'm alone. Okay. So it feels very like it's just uncomfortable, but I know like this will be where I will grow the most.
100%. And I think being alone or feeling lonely, it has a negative connotation to it a lot of the times. Yeah. But I think it could also be spun a positive way because when you're alone, depending, on your discipline and perseverance and things like that, it also gives you the chance to really focus.
100%. Yeah.
You can have less distractions.
I think the big one there about distractions is like the lack of influence that you have.
Right.
You're not influenced by other people's thoughts, like your friends, your family. Like you're not mostly physically around other people. That's right. Exactly. Sure, like, you call your family, whatever, but like the daily influence that you have is like you're with yourself. So whatever if you're able to listen to what your mind's telling you, your body's telling you, like you could tap into that and really start to align on the path that you want to take. Absolutely. Because when you're in different environments with other people that are not necessarily aligning with what you want to do, then it's easy to sway from that. Or like, oh yeah, he's telling me to go right, I'll just go right.
Or to fit in.
Or fit in, right?
Be accepted.
Let's face it, like we, as humans, we all want to fit in, we all want attention, we all want affection, we all want love, like
basic needs.
Basic needs of a human, right? So it's
Maslow's
normal.
hierarchy of needs.
Yeah, literally. So like being alone, I think that lack of influence is huge. I think it's just like it's you and yourself. Yeah. And that for me is like helping me being more patient because I've never been patient. Like in my life, never been patient.
It's so hard to be patient. But I think, and I don't even know if I should advance myself on this subject because I feel like I'm already going to mess up what I'm going to say. But you know how they say like there's a lot of kind of people that have made a big difference in the world, like for example, Nelson Mandela, right? And that spent time in like solitary confinement where they were alone. And then they have so much time to think.
It's tough.
Right?
It's tough.
Of course it's tough.
Yeah.
They have so much time to think. And then that can lead to making a positive difference in the end too. Right?
Yeah.
You're with your thoughts. You're with yourself. Which I feel like you can sometimes feel like, oh my God, like it's a lot. Right? And obviously we're not talking about that extent. But I'm just saying it's been proven that like people that have been in solitary confinement, like they think so much and they can like figure so much out, right? because they're with themselves and their thoughts.
But it's like what I was saying about it's so uncomfortable though. Like that. I mean, that situation for sure is super uncomfortable.
No,
like,
yeah.
But like, it's I can really feel what you're talking about, because I feel that obviously on a very lower scale. But like, it's uncomfortable. Like, it's you and just you, and it's like, all right,
you and you.
It's literally you. Like, that's it. So like, you have to figure it out. But like, being patient that like, all right, it's really uncomfortable now, but slowly every day, like, things are going to start aligning, things are going to start making sense. And like, which is why I'm really happy like we started this podcast, because I feel like that's one of those things that like just trying something new could lead to so many different opportunities, to so much like growth. And that's also like what I try to do through my like videos and content. Like, it's just like trying something.
Absolutely. And I think you need to try things to see the outcome, right? And I think, and I think this kind of ties a little bit to perfection too, but I feel like the fact that we're even trying something and we're putting something out there, we're already a step ahead from the person who's not putting anything because they're too afraid, right? So, for example, and I told you this, I've been wanting to do a podcast for years. I actually recorded 2 episodes of a podcast, or 1 episode, whatever it was, like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was me talking to the wall basically. And I was like, oh no, like, I don't know, what are people going to say, right? Comes back to that. Yeah. And I said, you know what, I'm not publishing it. And I stopped. So I'm so proud of like where we are today. And we need that patience, and we need to trust 100%. The process to say, okay, we're going to get better. And we're already seeing the progress, right? And we're only on episode
just a few episodes for sure.
We're already seeing a drastic difference. And so I feel like, that's really kudos to us, I have to say, for saying, you know what? No, we're in the process. We're going through it, but we're going to be patient. We'll get better. But in the meantime, we're not stopping ourselves from doing things. We're just going ahead and we're going full force and we're doing it.
But that's a tough one too. Like, especially, if you're telling people like just try things, right? Like, there's difference between trying something that's very public, like posting a podcast, or even like like, let's say you started your own podcast. Like, it's so, at least for me, like, it's easy to get caught up in your thoughts of being like, but like, who's gonna care? Like, but what really helped me was just reframe it like, I care.
Yep.
Like, yeah, sure, anybody could like listen and be like, I don't care about this, or like, but it's just like, I want to try this. Yeah. This is for me. I'm going to be patient with myself about doing the thing that I want to do. But you also touched on one thing, which is perfection.
Yes.
And I think perfectionism kills patience. It's literally, if you want to be perfect, you want to be perfect now. And I know that we are very similar when it comes to doing things. We like to do things well, which I must say, I am proud of that trait. I don't know about you, but I am proud of myself that I care to that extent to do things well. Like, I remember I used to have like little jobs, like through high school, through, university, college. Like, I used to stack chips for like in the grocery stores, or I used to work at a paintball field, and like whatever little job I did, like, I always really cared. I always did it well.
You gave it your all.
Yeah. It might seem like I was a tryhard, but like, I really, when I did something, why would I not do it well, or not do it to what I'm capable of doing it, So it's like, I don't know but that comes a lot from perfectionism, which I know like you had your fair share of that. I don't know if you want to share anything about like how you see perfectionism, and also like maybe how you see it today.
Like the best GPA and like A+ in every single one of my classes. And, as much as I don't regret whatsoever my university experience, because it was enriching in its own way.
Yeah.
By having that mindset, obviously if you want A+, well, you need to put in the results. You need to put in the work to get the results, right? It's not just going to magically appear that boom, I'm going to get to the exam and get an A+ on everything. And
that'd be great.
Right? It would be nice. Wishful thinking. And so the thing with that is I had to make concessions.
Yeah.
And sacrifices on some other aspects. Like, for example, our university, the one we attended, was really well known for some of its clubs and associations.
Yeah.
There was a bar at the, bottom floor of the university, which I think I might have attended once in my whole, 3-4 years there. And so, by putting so much of an effort on one thing and wanting to be perfect in that, I had to sacrifice some of the other things, like the social life and bonding, or, learning different things. And, it's kind of crazy because when you think about it, and I don't know if you've had the same experience, but like, I've never once been asked for my GPA by anyone.
Me neither.
And in a job interview, I've never gone to a job interview and someone's like, so Juliana, like, what was your GPA in university? Like, yeah, it's on my resume, but that's not what stands out.
Yeah.
What they're asking about and what they care about is your work experience. So I feel like I learned a lot from that experience of perfectionism, because now, as I was saying, my mindset has shifted. I try not to be a perfectionist as much anymore.
Because of those situations, like,
because I realized that I was putting a lot of pressure on myself. And I think that the perfectionism also, I learned a lot of it through my weight loss experience.
okay.
So, and I think this really ties in nicely with patience and perfectionism. I've lost, like I spoke about a little bit, but throughout the pandemic, I lost 50 pounds, which is
That's
quite
huge.
significant, right? And I lost it over 2 years. So there's the part about patience, is it wasn't a quick drop, which, we hear about these diets and the fads and lose 20 pounds in a month, and BS. I don't believe in that. I did it through hard work, working out every single day, high impact, low impact, and eating well. So that's the part about patience where it's like I wasn't seeing the results overnight. It took time to see the results, but at least there's sustained results. Okay. So that's one part.
Yeah.
But the second part about, where it really ties in with perfectionism is I wasn't perfect with what I was eating. I love chocolate. I love candy. I have a big sweet tooth, I like to indulge. I like pasta. I'm Italian, you're Italian. We know the pizza, the pasta, right? It's not the stereotype, but I like to enjoy food. And I think food is a big part of life, right? And when I go on vacation,
it's an experience.
It's an experience. It's always an experience. And my boyfriend's a big foodie too. So that's really rubbed off on me. And so I think through that lens, I started, like, as crazy as it sounds, saying, well, you can't be perfect. Like, I'm not going to work out every single day. And even if I do work out, the workout's not going to be perfect every single day. And I learned to accept that.
That's
and
great.
And that kind of transitioned into other parts of my life as well. And it's not to say that I don't care, because truly, we haven't really spoken about Gary Vee, I don't think, on the podcast.
Oh, not yet.
But one of the things Gary Vee says is, the best marketing strategy is to care. And I pride myself on that. And that's my life motto. The best marketing strategy is to care. If you care, that's when you're going to do your best work. That's what people are going to know. It shows in the way you talk, in the sparkle in your eye, and when things happen. And so, I think it's not necessarily about perfection anymore. It's about caring, putting my best foot forward, and knowing that I'm going to mess up sometimes. It's normal. And so I'm starting to adapt to that mindset and live through that mindset. And I feel like it's put less of a pressure on myself. It's not to say don't put pressure on myself. That I'd be lying if I said that. But, I feel like I put less pressure on myself. So that's a long answer to your question.
No, but on the last thing you touched on, I'm actually curious, because I feel like there was a shift that I experienced in my life about the notion of caring. I feel like younger, it was a bit like, I don't know, you were kind of picked on if you cared too much. Like, you were seen as like the try hard kid.
Yes.
Whereas getting older, I feel like I still feel a bit of that in certain situations, but like everybody wants to excel, but everyone's like kind of low key judging other people for trying hard.
Yeah.
At least, like, I don't know, I felt that in certain work environments, or I don't know, in certain settings, certain friend groups. Like, so I'm curious to see, like, what was your experience with that? Because like it's weird, right? Like, you want to do well, so like, but doing well requires effort, requires like you caring.
Yeah.
But then you're kind of looked, I don't know, you're judged to like, oh, look at this person, she's trying so hard, type thing.
You know what? I think it comes down to the way we're wired in a certain sense, and maybe it's a predisposition. You know how we're all born with certain traits, right? And they develop based on our experience, and we can develop certain traits or underdevelop certain traits. I think there's a difference between caring, like fake caring, and caring genuinely.
Okay.
And I'm someone who's very genuine, and like you're someone who's very genuine. So I don't know, and maybe that's just my perception of it, but I feel like I come across that way. I come across as someone who cares genuinely. And because people see that, I haven't gotten negative feedback on that anyways in recent years.
That's
right?
Great. Yeah.
Which is nice. And I think when we're young, everyone's trying to find themselves, and people like to bully other people, and whatever. So I feel like I haven't experienced that, fortunately. Now, who knows? Maybe behind my back, one of my friends is like, oh my God,
but that's what I mean. Like, it might not be directly to your face, but I feel like I don't know. It might be intimidating for other people to see people like,
yes,
because I think people like caring so much nowadays. I feel like I don't see that very often. And like, I think we touched on that in the last episode about, for me, feeling connected to people. That's also a sense of like caring, being vulnerable. Absolutely. And I feel like that could be seen as like, okay, dude, like you're trying too hard type thing.
It's a good point. And I think that's a reflection on others though.
Yeah, 100%.
You know? And to your point, it's a very good point. And I have experienced that where people are like almost jealous that you naturally like have this genuineness and caring.
They have like these weird mixed emotions around it. Maybe it's like they wish they could also be like that. Yes. Or I don't know, maybe it's just like, I don't know, you're not part of the cool kids if you care. It's like cool not to care. I don't know.
Or like, maybe they don't care.
Yeah,
right? So they hate on someone
that,
who
right?
cares.
So it's also like, I don't know, all around that concept of like, you know, priding yourself in like that attention to detail, because I think perfectionism, like we're talking about, stems from a lot of different things.
Yes.
And I think one of them is that, like, it is, I think for me, like a good, like I'm proud of that trait for myself. Like whatever it is, no matter how big, how small, like I will try my best.
Do you have an example?
Like
a concrete example that you can think of off the top of your head?
Of caring, of like
perfectionism, or like how you've seen it maybe benefit you in the past, or...
Well, actually, I'll share one that like where it didn't benefit me.
Okay, perfect.
And because I think it's important to always share both sides, right? And like how you become, or like how you understand certain things is because you've experienced probably like the good and the bad of it. You know, like let's say the good part was always like being, I don't know, like I was positively reinforced by my bosses, by my teachers, by my grades, by my parents, because I got good grades. I cared about my grades in my jobs, no matter like it was a part-time job or a full-time job. Like I would, you know, people like congratulated me for my work, and like it's something I took pride in, because I was like, no matter what it was, I was like, I'm going to try my best here and I'm going to put in my maximum effort. But on the other end, that perfectionist aspect, I know for myself, I've quit things way too soon because of it.
Right.
Because it was like, I always expect myself to be off the bat, like really good at it. I want to be the best. I want to hang with the top dogs. And it's like, okay. Yeah, literally, like, because there's top dogs in anything you're going to do, right? Like in any like hobby or any work environment, anything, there's always like the top people, right? So it's like, you have to be patient and give yourself that time to reach that level. But for me, I know that no matter what it was, I didn't care. I'm in there, I'm doing it. I should be good at it today, right? Like that's how I used to be like younger. And I would try something and I would tell myself, no, it's not for me. Like, it's just not for me. Like, that's okay. I'll move on to the next thing. So I quit things, I think, way too soon, when it was just a matter of being patient and putting my reps in and get better.
Giving yourself the chance.
So the best example of that, and I will remember this, and I think this helps me like correct that in the future, is, so my dad was a hardcore racing fan. Like he actually tried to make racing as a career when he was younger.
No way.
Yeah. Wow. So he's so passionate about racing, and I love it. And he tried to share that passion with us when we were younger. So he got us into racing go-karts. Okay. So we used to have like a little trailer. He bought like a few go-karts.
And who's we?
So I had my brother, my brother with me and my dad, and it was all three of us. Okay. And we used to have like our local racetrack like near here, and we'd go like 3 times a week when we could practice, and we would go practice. So my dad was like our mechanic and stuff like that. And I got hooked. Like I got hooked on, I would nag my dad every time, can we go practice the weekends? And then we used to have like races around like Quebec, you know, like we used to go to different racetracks. Okay. And I think I definitely got hooked more than my brother. So I was like a bit more pushy with my dad. Like, but essentially what my dad was trying to do, right, it was to bond with us. Yeah. Was to share his passion and like bond over racing. And coming back to my teenage self, right? I'm there and I'm like, all right, this is cool. I like this. So I need to be really good at it, right? So comes my first ever race. I finished 4th. Okay. Out of 12 people, maybe 12, 13 people. And everyone's coming to see me. Oh my God, great race, like amazing. And I'm like so mad. I'm like so embarrassed. And I'm like, what do you mean I finished 4th? I'm not even on the podium. Like, this is terrible. And they're like, what do you mean? And I took like all the fun out of it. Like it was supposed to be fun, right? My dad had a blast, and I was like, and you know, I did a great race, and everyone's congratulating me. I'm like, no, this was terrible. Like terrible race. I had no fun. And they're telling me, but the first 3 on the podium, he's been doing it 8 years. He's been doing it 9 years. He's been racing 7 years. And even the people behind you have been racing like 6, 5, 7 years, like many years. And you're like, it's your first year in.
Yeah, your first. Exactly.
And to me, it's kind of like on that topic of giving advice to people. Like it went 1 year, went out the other. I'm like, it doesn't matter how many years they have. I should be good at this.
Yeah.
But essentially, like it took all the fun out of the bonding experience with my dad, and like it kind of eventually cut our like racing journey short, because I was in there to be perfect. You know, and I wasn't in there to be patient and just like enjoy the activity.
Yeah.
Like it could have turned, it just like realized that like not being patient and being, trying to be perfect, like just made me quit things like way too early before like just really give myself the chance to like try the thing. And you know, they say like it takes 10,000 hours to master a craft.
That's right.
It's like you can't be good at like 1,000 or 5,000. You can't be the expert at that. It takes all 10,000, you know? So I don't know. I think the being patient is like, I know we'll talk about it in the next episode, but conflicts a bit with getting older, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because they say, you know, and you might explain this a little bit better, but, you know, we have to be patient, which means waiting.
Yeah.
But waiting, not being idle waiting, but like working towards something, but it takes time.
Yeah.
But then we also hear life is short, you know, like tomorrow's never promised, and you're getting older. And so all this time goes on and on as you're perfecting something, but then you're also getting older and time is slipping away.
It's tough.
So it's like, what do you do?
It's tough. Like I think we all reach an age, and that age is different for everyone, where like you just realize like, oh wow, I'm getting older.
Yeah.
Like I need to start being intentional with my time.
Absolutely.
You know, like I think I've reached that this year.
Me too.
Yeah. Like
I was going to share that in the next episode, but since you said it, me too.
Yeah, well, we'll save for next episode, but definitely like it's tough, right? Like it's very conflicting, and I think it's something that you need to be mindful of.
Absolutely.
Not worry about, but mindful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard though not to worry, but we'll get into all those emotions
in the next episode.
'Cause I feel like if not, we'll go on forever.
Oh yeah, for sure. This is a really interesting topic, so make sure you guys watch the next episode on getting older.
Absolutely. This was great. I really liked this episode.
Love the episode. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Hope you guys love it too. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.